You may have seen one, two, or three different videos about Endfield made by a single creator named Tobo. Every single time I've been asked by my viewers on my stream, hey, have you watched Tobo's video? What do you think of that video? Was it a good video and whatnot? Every single time that I've been asked about it, I have to respond back, I don't really intend to watch it because I've seen it already, and in truth, I don't like those videos, but I don't intend to make a response of it. However, it's now reached the extent that I don't think I want to be silent anymore. Let me first start off by giving a summary of the three videos and then explaining what Tobo we have intended when making them. So in the first video, Tobo covers on the combat of the game, how it drifts away from the alpha, and then how lots of people are asking for features that are visible in other gacha games, notably HSR, Genshin, ZZ, and Wuwa, the big four. Unless you count the true big gacha game, Love and Dead Space. You can't argue with that, it's the biggest gacha game right now. In the words of Tobo, he describes that he wants his video to create massive discussion and to ignite change before it's too late. In a way, he calls it to throw a bomb into the community.
If I just yap and make a video expressing concerns, it's not going to have the impact I want it to have. And so I decided to be on stream yesterday. I described this as like a YouTube terrorism, but like I just said, right. I'm turning this video into a pipe bomb, and I'm just going to throw that into the mix. I need to spark a discussion about things.
In the second video, that is 3 months later, Tobo then focuses on dodge and how he feels that it may have become more action-oriented and may remove strategic elements for the game. In this video, he chooses not to explain if he needs dodge to be removed, capped, or revamped, but rather to keep it open-ended and so as to create discussion. And then also takes the chance to be funny and crash out. In both videos, Tobo seems to have good intentions. He feels that there are not enough discussions or conversations about Endfield within the community, so he wants to kind of start a movement where everybody will be discussing about the game. However, intentions and consequences don't always end up being the same. From the first video, we start to see that both Arknights and non-Arknights players are starting to feel that Endfield is becoming more Genshin-like or Wuwa-like. Some express fears, but others are thinking that it's becoming a reality. But these fleeting thoughts can pass. After some time, we move on and we don't talk about it. However, once the second video appears, which is 3 months later, everyone is just waiting patiently for the next news about Endfield, when's the release date, and then a very specific problem that people don't really discuss about is brought up. The video makes it seem that dodge is something that can damage the fundamentals of the game, and as a result, more people are thinking that Endfield is losing its identity. It's becoming more action-oriented, and so it might mean less on tactics, on strategy, and therefore, we're just getting another Genshin or Wuwa copy. Finally, to emphasize again, there is no new information or gameplay that is released within those 3 months. Instead, this video comes across as new information to a lot of the viewers. In the third video, where Tobo decides to express his disappointment about how dodge may have granted more emphasis, sounding as if he really doesn't want dodge in the game. Once more, not something he says explicitly in his second video, this ignited the passion of the people, whether for the good or bad. People started attacking him for complaining about dodge, others feel he has lost a battle and that the game is really becoming just plain old Genshin. The thing about all these videos is that Tobo has claimed his goal is to create good discussions for the community. Any discussion is good to him, as many content creators or even the CN community to get involved. However, whether the discussions are healthy or not is not his concern. To him, any discussion is a form of success. This then comes to why I dislike those videos. Without directing the audience as to how to have a discussion, anything can happen. People can see this video as opportunities to bring down Endfield, to say that the development is turning for the worse. Over time, these few videos created an unnecessary divide of players who don't see well for Endfield and of players who are still hopeful for Endfield. They sparked in the comments, in forums, in chatting lobbies. These videos later also sparked other content creators, big or small, to take part and produce their own videos. All of them seem to have something important to say about the game. Tobo has said this several times to myself, to other content creators and his viewers, that his videos has allowed for many people from the global and CN community to all agree with his views. The trouble at hand is that amongst everyone who have actually seen that video, how many have actually played the game? Most people didn't get the chance to play the beta because the beta was only allowing for a small crew of people to try the game. And how many people have actually watched the game in full? For the over 100 hours worth of pure gameplay that isn't just about repetitive combat or base building. Some may have caught a glimpse of the game, maybe an hour or two, but everyone else is probably just only witnessing the game for the first time just by watching Tobo's review. His video is the most watched when you search the word Endfield, and that becomes the first and only avenue for many people to see what Endfield is or isn't. When you choose to discuss about something that is not in a full picture, and especially to people without prior knowledge, it is definitely very easy for people to agree with you. One can blame these people for misunderstanding Tobo, but I definitely dislike these videos for more than just these reasons alone. As someone who has definitely played Endfield before, for all the gameplay that it has, discovering every nook and cranny and all largely streamed, Tobo's video has presented Endfield in a vastly different light. I don't mean to say that the game was nice and pristine. Rather, Tobo videos have chose to hunker down on a small portion of the game, that is the combat and strategy. Maybe being a problem, while ignoring so many numerous other aspects of the game that is truly making Endfield a unique gacha game compared to all the others in the market. By choosing to harbor on a small fraction of the game, it has seemed as if that's all the game has to offer, when in reality, there are numerous other aspects that are worth discussing, whether for their goods or bads. Despite him wanting the game to succeed in the form of massive feedback, this video has in turn created the effect of people becoming disinterested in Endfield, saying it's another Genshin or Wuwa, and I don't want to play it. Let me focus down on a very popular comment where a lot of people are saying Tobo is being misunderstood. It is important for him to criticize. He's the one person that is finally doing it for all of us and keeping Hyperglyph in check. I'm not against criticism. I think it's all the more important for everyone to say their piece, to say what they want for the game itself. However, you can do that in the form of feedback to, submit in the survey forms, to make a post, to put up in all of their discussion forums. But when you are a content creator, a person who will influence other people's views, and you choose to do it in the form of a video to create loud noise and, as the way he describes, to throw a bomb into the community, it creates this effect where his own personal feedback becomes something that seems like everybody should pay attention to, and as a result, it's placed more importance than all other things that is occurring within the game. For myself, my thoughts to this whole dodge matter, should there be dodge or should there not be dodge, I'm just gonna put a simple sort of response here. I personally don't care whether or not there is dodge or no dodge within the game. I don't think it defines whether the game is more unique or whether the game is more strategic. Dodge is not just for gacha games to have. All sorts of combat games that we see in the market have dodge somehow. And it's a matter of how they use that dodge to influence the combat that the game has. Who is to say that just because you have dodge, it means that there is no strategy? How you dodge, how does the dodge influence all of your other sequences of attacks is also a form of strategy and tactic. For myself, when comparing the alpha test and the beta test, at a certain point in time, I did want to make a review for the alpha, but I had such a disastrous time playing the alpha, whether it was the story, the base, or even the combat, that I didn't think I wanted to say a thing about it, because whatever I was going to say wasn't going to be nice. But when it comes to the beta, they've definitely changed a lot from that slower gameplay that the alpha had. The problem that I find very simply to say is whether or not there is dodge. In the current form of the beta gameplay, when it comes to the combat, do you find there to be fun? Fun is what matters when we play the game. It's what keeps us from playing the game and being interested to log in every day. In the case of the alpha, the slower combat that Tobo presents and states that he wants a version of it to be back in the game, I don't think that will last very long for a practical standpoint. To put it very easily, if a boss were to have very high HP or very difficult mechanics, and then you need to use all of these skills, the problem at hand is that when you have this whole slowdown mechanic, you click on a skill, you need to plan the range, how you organize your units. How many times would you have to sequence that every time you play a massive boss fight? Would you have to click those buttons 50 times, stare at all those slowdown screens, or 100 times, or 150 times when the challenge gets even harder? The problem with this is that it becomes irritating when it's in that slow-mo fashion. I don't think that it's a bad thing to have the slow-mo, but it might not be something that needs to appear on every single character within the game. In comparison with the faster paced gameplay, it makes a lot of sense in terms of practicality, where a boss fight doesn't need to become 30 minutes or 1 hour, because every time you're precisely trying to figure out where to do it. I want to play those kind of slow paced games when I'm playing a game like Civilization. But when it's a game where it involves combat, I do agree that the faster pace helps for everybody's playing sake, where in the case of Thank you for following. Where in the case of all of us being busy at school, at work, and we don't have the time to sink into a game like this, there's already going to be so much time taken for the base, for the world exploration. If the combat takes so much of the time as well, it's not going to be very good for a player's experience. And therefore, trying to keep all of those being even more fast-paced, even shorter, it's very helpful for a replayability sake. At this point, some of you may be going, yes, he must be Hoyofied, he wants all that kind of fast-paced gameplay and whatnot. No, I'm not buying for it. I also don't want the game to look like another Hoyoverse or WoWa game. I also want the game to be unique. And at the current game state, if you've actually played the game yourself, you would basically see it is not like those games. Every skill, every ultimate, every combo attack has an impact. It influences yourselves, and you don't get all this nice action for free. When it comes to the way that you organize your team, when it comes to the way as to what skill to use first, those are all strategy, and the game doesn't immediately teach you that. There are many people who have tried the beta, throwing themselves with all the 6 stars in the team, and then complaining, why is the combat so boring? Or why is nothing much happening? But then they don't seem to realize that the combat actually works out if you know how to sequence your team, you know how everybody's skills work and how they are able to cooperate with one another depending on the enemy situation. There is truly a lot of strategy, way more than I've ever enjoyed in those other combat games. And that's why I'm looking forward to Endfield. Not because whether or not it's a unique game. I think it's already unique. The matter at hand is now, at the current version of Endfield, I find that there's a lot more fun. Personally, I've not made a review for Endfield, not because I think everything is fantastic or that there are a lot of problems, it's none of that. Whatever that the beta has shown has already clearly shown me that the potential of the game is already up there. There's going to be very fun combat, there's going to be very fun base building, they are caring about all these aspects. But for me as a player or as a content creator, that is not really my concern. I'm actually concerned about bigger things that the beta can't actually show me. What is the replayable factor of the game? What is the content cycle of the game? What is the actual gacha system of this game? These are the things that isn't just going to define whether I'm playing the game on day 1 or not. But these are the things that will make me play the game for months ahead, for years ahead, to make me say I'm looking forward to every single update. If all that content cycle turns out to be very boring, who cares if the gameplay is 10 out of 10 or the base is 10 out of 10? Even if those things are considered a 7 or 8 out of 10, which is where I think they are right now, as long as it's combined with very well designed new mechanics, new maps, new story, new stages, new things to discover, that I think is what will keep people very engaged. And that won't exactly come out in the form of a beta. I'll try to explain this better in a coming video where I'll finally make my review for Endfield. But in the meantime, I just want to go back onto this whole matter about why can't we just allow people to criticize? Once again, I think it's perfectly fine to criticize what a game is not doing very well of. But while we're doing so, let us not create a whole army of people who don't know much better of the game and to tell others that, hey, I'm correct because these people are agreeing with me. These people are only formulating their opinions based on someone else's opinion and not because of their own experience of playing the game. I find the whole situation very unfair towards the development of the game, where the people who were once interested in the game might now suddenly get disinterested because a whole bunch of people are saying the game is no longer what it should be. Howsoever there is also one more point that I want to put across, which is about this so-called vision of the game or what Hyperglyph wants. A lot of the time Turbo has presented this whole thing where it means that Hyperglyph has drifted away from its initial vision of the game. Hyperglyph no longer know what it wants to cater to more of the people, and therefore it's no longer what it wants itself. The big thing that I have at hand is, for what reason us over here are questioning what Hyperglyph truly wants for the game or not. If Hyperglyph's vision is about, let's just put it in the worst case scenario, they want to create another very Hoyoverse-like game, right? Because to them, it might mean more success, more players, more people coming in the game. Let's just say that's what they want, alright? If we as players don't like it, who are we to judge and say, that is not your vision, that is not what you want to do? It is just what they chose to do. Of course it is their vision. But us as a player, we shall have the choice of whether or not we want to play the game. Like myself personally, if the game releases, it's just not what I want to see of it, I see that they're catering to a whole different audience, and I'm not part of that audience, I'm just not going to play it. As simple as that. We shouldn't be just speaking up and being also protectionist about, oh, the game must be a certain version of what we have portrayed. The game company can do whatsoever they want. If they just go a different direction, I guess let's just be disappointed and move on. Go find a better game that actually suits our taste. For a lot of people who say that the game is losing the so-called strategic element, is too much on the action side, and you're only complaining about the action side because you don't want to see any action in the game, then it just simply means that this game is definitely just becoming not for you. There are a lot of strategy games out there, card games, tower defense games, strategy games. All those things can fulfill that sort of niche. But now we can clearly see Hypergraph wants to go into this double version. It's not pure action. It's going to still have its own strategy when we can really see that. Again, things that I'll emphasize in a later video. But apart from that, if it's not meant to be, that's just what it is. That's all I'm going to say towards this video. I do want to make it clear, I'm not against Tobo as a person. I have seen him within the AK community, we've known each other streaming and working for all so long, and to me, the only thing I'm bothered by is the videos he have made. According to him, he feels that these videos are made in good faith towards Endfield. But for me, I see these videos as putting Endfield in a very negative light, and I don't see that as a very necessary thing to do, especially if he wants Endfield to be succeeding. Again, I think criticisms are fine, but I also think there are better ways to present your criticisms. I've watched a very big Arknights content creator over in the CN space, his name is FlyK, and he's made an hour-long review, really covering every aspect of the game, and then talking about the goods, the bads, explaining how he has formulated his opinions. And I do find that to be a lot more enjoyable. It got me thinking about all the nitty-gritty details of the game, and that was kind of what I'm looking forward to when seeing a review within the EN space. Unfortunately, Tobo is now the most watched video, so it becomes seemingly the most important review. I just find that it doesn't quite present the full nature, the actuality of what Endfield is. So that's why I'm bothered about it, and hopefully I'll come about to make a review. I don't assure that my review is going to be necessarily better than whatever that you guys have seen, but I do want to at least be able to fulfill my promise to talk about what I feel towards Endfield. So look forward to that video. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and let me know down in the comments however you feel towards this entire situation. And if not, yep, see you guys in another video. Alright, bye bye.